With today's daf of Kufay Amid Aleph, Kumla Blat Gemara, we are the day Motzoi Simchas Torah, the day after Simchas Torah. Says the Mishnah, Shnei Dayanik Gzeres Hoy B'Shalayim. There were two Dayanim who decreed Gzeres, who made decrees, and Gemara will explain what that is, in Yerushalayim. One was called Adamoin, and one was called Chanan ben Avishalom. And they said certain things that there was argued by the rabbis. Chanan said two things, and Admon said seven, and that's what we're going to learn in the next few Mishnahs. Case number one. If somebody went overseas, and the wife is saying, my husband did not leave me any provisions, and she's demanding that she can sell assets or something so that she can use the money, the cash, to provide for herself. Chanan says she doesn't have to swear that the husband didn't leave her any money, but tishba b'seif. When she hears that her husband died and now she wants to collect the ksuva, then she has to swear that her husband did not give her anything. She doesn't have to swear from the outset from Zainas. From Zainas, she doesn't have to swear. It's only when she comes to collect the ksuva. However, interesting, the children of the Kohanim Gedolim. How many children would you have? Because the Kohen Gadol was usually for life until the next Kohen, until he passed away. But anyway, the children of Kohen Gadol argued with Amr. They said, Tishba bit chil, even when she comes to collect mezainis, she has to swear that her husband didn't provide for her. Amr Rebbe said that you should know that Doisa ben Hurkanes Kidivrehem agrees with the children of the Kohen Gedolim that she has to swear from the outset and at the end. I disagreed. I agree with the first opinion. She only has to swear when she comes to collect the ksuva. Says the Gemara. But I mean, there's a question. It says in another brayso, in our Mishnah says there were two dayanik zaydas. There it says shloisha dayanik zaydas Yerushalayim. There were three dayanim Yerushalayim, and he gives names, but also it mentions we have two problems. Our Mishnah records two, there it says three. Our Mishnah calls them Dayanim of Gezeros, and there they call them Dayanim of Gezelos. Now, if we totally two distinct things, then there's no question. That's different Dayanim, but we don't assume that you can have the same Dayan to run two different organizations, one for Gezelos and one for Gezelos. So therefore, we're going to assume it's one thing, and yet why is it called different names? And why he says here two, there it says three. Admon ben Gedoy says Admon, Chanan HaMitzri, and Chanan ben Avishalom. So we insert the new name as Chanan HaMitzri. Kasha Klasa Train, Kasha Gzelis. We have two questions, 3 and 2, and Gzelis and Gzelis. Bishlam at Klasa Train, 3 against 2, like Kasha is not really a problem. The Choshiv like Tani, the Choshiv like Tani. So we have two ways and places how to understand Pshat. Either the more eminent scholars are mentioned in our Mishnah. The Brayso mentions even someone not eminent, which is Chanan HaMitzri. And the only problem is if Chanan HaMitzri is less eminent than the other two scholars, why does his name precede the other Chanan? So Tais already gave other examples, like in Haggadah, we say that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah before mentioned Rabbi Akiva, and everyone knows Rabbi Akiva was greater than Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The only reason why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is mentioned first is because his yichus. So maybe Chanan HaMitzri had better yichus than Chanan ben Avishalom, but as a person in his own right, Chanan Avishalom was greater. Well, Choshev means the ones that actually had opinions that are relevant to our Pedic are mentioned, and the ones that have no opinions relative to our Pedic are not mentioned. So Chanan HaMitzri, his name, he's Lo Choshev, not counted on Mishnah because he doesn't say anything. That's relevant here. And Gzelis Kashi. Why change the name? It's one thing. They make Gzelis regarding money things. For example, we learned Kitman Tia. If you go ahead, if your animals, let's say, knock down some sapling, Rabbi Yasi says, talk about your animal entered the victim's property without any permission whatsoever and knock down some of the saplings. So how do you assess it? Rabbi says the fixed amount. That if the sapling is only 1 year old, stay kesef, you pay 2 silver pieces, doesn't matter what the value is. But bashtesha for 2 years, then arba kesef. Then you pay double, you pay 4 silver pieces. Again, it doesn't matter what the real value is. That's the gzera. We talk about gzelis, and then he gives an example of hezek, of damages. So gzelis obviously doesn't mean literally gzelis, where gzelis means anything where you you cause damage or you're stealing from another person. Something that you're having a negative impact on somebody else. We're up to Kufay of an Aleph, about 10 lines of the Gemara. And basically, we opened up, and today's Gemara is not going to talk about the actual law in the Mishnah, but we're opening up about that there were two judges who their job is to make decrees, and so we want to know why a price has three, and we said, we only mentioned certain ones here, and that's it. And with a minu, and then the rest of the Gemara we're talking about if you're allowed to pay judges. Really, we learned Shleisha they on Gzeidus Shleim. There were three dayanim of Gzeidus Shleim, Admain, Chonon, and there was another guy, Nachum, a fourth guy, like it sounds like, or at least in this price there were three, but the third was Nachum. Amar Papa said Papa Mantan and Nachum, who said Nachum Abnasani. It's another time Rab Nosson believed that there were only three, but his third was Nachum. Tanya says, and our Mishnah is not Rab Nosson. Tanya in the Braisa, Nosson says, Af Nachum Amadai. Nachum from Modai was also included in Geizek Zaydish Shleima. He was part of those who decreed Zaydish Shleim, but Chacham said, no, he was not. Says the Gemara, you tell me there weren't any more. Pinchas said, name Rabbi Ishia. And he said that Sholish Meyas, 300, the Tishim Rabbo, 394, Bote Dinin Ha Yerushalayim. There were 394 Bote Dinin in Yerushalayim, which is amazing. 394 courts of law in Yerushalayim alone. And Rashi says each Bote Din was made up of 23. If you take Rashi literally, because others, the Yaakov don't say it's 3. If you take it, if you work out the numbers, so you have 394, practically 400 times 23. You're talking about, like 8,500 dayanim in Yerushalayim. How many people in Yerushalayim? And must have had a lot of disputes. Many disputes if there were so many court cases. Others want to amend Rashi, not 23, but 3. Even though 3, the fact that you have 394, court Botedinin courts is just an amazing number. How many machlekes are going to be in one city? And every city had their own courts. It's not like everybody went to Yerushalayim to hear their cases. Kenegdon, especially if it's only a court of 3 people, it's not like a Supreme Court. Kenegdon, corresponding to that, Bote Kinesias, there were 394 shuls, as if to explain why were there so many courts, why were there so many machlekes, because there were a lot of shuls, and I guess people got into disputes. Or connected Bote Midrashas that correspond to that, and 393 Bote Medrash where people sat and they learned. Or Kenegdon, and correspond to that with Bote Sefer, there were 393 schools. So there were something magic about 393. 393 schools, shuls, Bote Medrash, and courts. So this is all corresponding to the courts. So Gemara says, so the question is, in Amish there's only 3. Answer the Gemara. The other 2, of course, there are many judges. We're talking about Hagoyze Gzeidus. We're talking about something very specific. Those who came up with new decrees. Amar Yehuda. Yehuda said, Amar Avasi, Goyze Gzeidus Yerushalayim, these dayanim who were Goyze Gzeidus, they had to get paid. And they would take their reward from Tishim V'Teisha Mana for 99 Mana. Mana is 100 ducats, so 99 times 100, 9,900. Betrumas Halishcha from the Beis HaMikdash. Remember, we lived in Shkolim, that we used to, the 3 times a year they would take from the Kafras of Beis HaMikdash, and then comes this, and they had to start using the new Shkolim that people brought. And what did they do with the leftover, the Meiser Halishcha? And they did it for maintenance and other things, including paying these judges, Goyze Gzeidus. If they didn't accept that money, they had to pay them more. Says the Gemara, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Rishayim here, that they're doing it just for the money. If, let's say, it turned out to be that the money was not sufficient for them to take care of themselves, let's say there were a lot of judges, or inflation they couldn't pay, then even if they do not want to accept, we force them to accept, because we want to make sure that they have a livelihood so that they can remain judges. Otherwise, they're going to have to find a job, and we're going to lose out. The Gemara said that Kana, he was a judge by name of Kana, he would take 1 coin, Mizakai, and the Istira, and he would take 1 coin, Mechayev. He would take a coin from each one. If a doyle did, then he said, no, it was equal, and then he would go ahead and judge. In other words, he charged them, but this exact same amount. This way, he didn't show any favoritism to either side. Said, who cares? How can you take money directly from the plaintiff and the defendant? It says, you shouldn't take any bribes. Tell me this is not a bribe. What is a bribe if one pays and one doesn't? Because there's a chance, a good probability that you're going to lean the din towards him. But Karna, keeping the Shokum Tavayu, he got paid from both sides. And he's not going to show any favoritism. Says the Gemara, no, it's not correct. Because you think the problem of a sheikh is merely that he is going to, I guess, distort the halacha to favor one side. But Tanya, we learned the sheikh had lesikach. It says in the pasuk you shouldn't take bribery. Why do I need a pasuk to tell me you shouldn't take any bribery? They shouldn't distort the halach one way or another, find the guilty, innocent, guilty. There's another pasuk where it says, do not alter the halacha to favor one side. Ella, the chiddush here is you're going to rule exactly the way it's supposed to be. The one who is innocent should be found innocent. The one who's guilty should be found guilty. Yet, you cannot take money from the people in front of you in the court. Says the Gemara, when is it forbidden? So how did Karna take, the equal amount from both of them? Says the Gemara, if he took it took it as a bribe, but Karna b'teres agra b'shakel. Karna took it partially as a wage. He needed to live, and that he was allowed to. Says the Gemara, yeah. Are you telling me that judges are allowed to get wages? Over Titus agra mishari. Are you telling me that yonim are permitted to get wages? But now we learned if a judge takes money in order to go ahead and to judge, dinin betalin, that all of his verdicts are all null and void. You're not allowed to get paid. Why are you not allowed to get paid? We learn because it says Hashem said, "Ma ani bechinam atem bechinam." Just like I operate freely, so too when you operate in matters of kodesh, you should do so freely. That's if you take money for the court case. This is very important. The Kana took money aga betela. Aga betela means he had another job, but he had to take off the other job in order to listen to this, to convene the Bezdin. So he didn't get paid for taking care of the Bezdin. He got paid for the compensating for the loss of whatever his job was, which would seem to indicate then what you should be doing is, let's say a Malamed is also a Dayan. See what they get paid for the week as a Malamed, and whatever that paid, that's what they should get paid as a Dayan. But that's not what's happening today. What's happening today is that Dayan charged an immense amount of money. And what possible head do they have? We'll see in a minute. Says the Gemara, and that you are permitted. You get paid for taking off to get compensated. But Tanya, we learn it is mias for a judge. That gets paid for judging. Now, what are we talking about? Din is a valid. What are we talking about? If it gets paid for taking a din, we just said din ain't a din. That din ain't a din. Din is a din. But Tanya, we just learned it's not valid. Obviously, it's talking about getting paid compensation, and yet it says mechuyur. Yet it's saying it's a me, it's a thing. It's ignoble. It's not elegant. It's not appropriate. That's only talking about the guy doesn't really have a job, or nobody could really, or he had a casual work. Who knows if he even got paid? Then it's me, so it gets paid now for that compensating something which is not really definite. But Karna definitely was missing out on a job. He had a job every single day. Fixed. What was his job? The ambra the chamer. Interesting job. His job was to smell wine, to see whether it's about to go off, whether they should sell discounted and sell it off, and so on. The Yovel Azuzin got paid every day, and he always had work. So that's obvious. His schar is schar batol for not working. Like Ravuna. Every time he had a court case, Amalu, he would say to them, I want you to provide for me a person to can go ahead and work my field and take my place over there so that I can be here. So he needed compensation. And therefore, that's all right. I can go ahead and judge your din. So the question is on how today Dayani get paid, and they get paid way more for the Dayan than the other day job. What is the heter? So we'll talk about it soon. See how blind people are who accept sheikhet. Adam chosbein, a person who, let's say, his eyes are aching. If he goes to an eye doctor, Gary, and Suffolk misrapi, Suffolk emisrapi, nothing ever guaranteed that he'll be cured. If he has some kind of eye disease, you try. And they get paid for it. Sorry, but when it comes to a court, they take a pruta, and they definitely become blind. People are prepared to pay money, maybe they'll cure their eyes. Here you have a chance to leave your eyes intact, and yet they're prepared for a few dollars. They are going to make sure that they ruin their eyes. Because it says that sheikhet blinds those who are smart. In other words, they don't see the future. They don't see what the future portends, because once you become beholden to one person, that's generally the demise of this dying around. That sheikha blinds the eyes of wise, surely to those who are fools. The Yisrael and distorts the words of tzaddikim, surely to the shayim. So Gemara asked me the tipshim shayim benedinin. What do you mean shayim and tipshim are judges? What do you mean it's going to harm them? This is what it means. The wisest person. You will not depart this world before your heart gets blinded and you start doing crazy, silly things or things which are totally distorted. And it goes ahead and corrupts the words of tzaddikim. I feel it's tzaddik. Even someone's a complete tzaddik, but he takes sheikhet. Will not leave this world without his mind being all confused and confounded. Avdimi came along. Amar, he said the following. He said, "Daughters of Nachman Kohen." It says in Pasuk, so the king for justice will establish this land. The ish terumas yasena, and a person who is removed, a higher, elevated person, something can destroy it. What does that mean? It means as follows: if you judge like a king that doesn't need anybody's favors, has enough of his own, doesn't need anybody's money, stand on his own 2 feet, and yami, that's an excellent judge. He will be objective. Nobody can corrupt him. If he's trish trumas, if he's like a coin that has to get truma, in other words, he needs constantly support of other people, then Yasena, he will destroy everything because he's beholden to all of these people and he wants to find favor, especially in the people who can take care of him, the richer people. What kind of justice is that going to be? Rabbi Barav Shela said, Hi Dayona, the Shoyel Shiltum, any Dayan that continuously borrows objects from neighbors, puzzle and maiden, then he cannot judge because he needs help from other people. It's only talking about if he doesn't have anything in return to lend others. If he has things to return to others, less because if this person, I can lend, it's more like a business arrangement than I'm here and to get to the prey of other people. Ain't is not so, but Rabbi Shoyel Shiltum at Bimamian. Rabbi used to borrow things from the family of Bamillion. Afagavdele Shayim, and they never lent anything back to him. Saying, well, that's very different. His motive was Hosam Lach Shavuni the boy. Rabbi did that in order to elevate the family of Bar Miriam that in people's eyes. And by him borrowing from them, people saw, if Rabbi has dealings with this person, he must be a good person. So he didn't do it because he needed any favors from them. On the contrary, he was doing them a favor. My time with the sheikhet. What's the problem with sheikhet? So he says very interesting. Why is sheikhet a bad thing? If you're a tzaddik gomer and you take sheikhet and you make sure that you paskin correctly, what's a big deal? And we had before you, if you take money from both of them, what's the big deal? Kivan de kabbalei sheikhet. He said, but when the moment you take sheikhet, bribery, you now suddenly feel something, some kind of a bond between you and that person, and suddenly you feel that you're really talking about yourself. Now they can goof face. Suddenly it's no longer a stranger. Suddenly it's about me, and they know the person can never see faults in themselves. My sheikhet. What's the origin of the word sheikhet? Shehu chad. 2 words. Shehu chad. You become one. Whichever person tries to bribe you, become one with, and that's the problem. A person should not paskin for somebody that he likes. Not a person that you hate. Now, in the Gemara Makkos, we talk about a person that you hate is somebody you haven't spoken to for 3 days, and you're not allowed to judge such a person, and so on and so forth. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just somebody that you is not pleasant with, or you don't like. but not somebody you actually really hate. And therefore, it's not a good idea to judge even such a person as well, because you're already coming with certain prejudices. If you come with certain prejudices, you cannot paskin honestly, and no matter what you think, it's very difficult. And it's more explained. The rachale, if you like this person, you'll always try to interpret with his actions as if he did something positive. The son of the person you don't like, it's very hard for you to find anything positive about it. Now, this is a very important matter for all leaders. Hi, this young rabbi. The merachmele b'nei Mosif, everybody in town likes you. Not because you're a good guy. Because you're not doing your job. The job of a rabbi is to lift the people and to point out to them their mistakes, as well as to build up their confidence and so encourage them to continue. But if you never point out their errors and point out the mistakes, they'll love you, but they'll never improve. So the Rabbi says, if everybody likes it, so if a rabbi has somebody who doesn't like him, he knows he's doing a good job. If a rabbi has somebody that no one likes him, then you got a problem. Omar Rava says Rava. So Rava says something interesting. At first I thought, the people in my city called Mechuzah, Kul Rachman. I thought they all loved me. Kiva and the Havai Daina, when I became a judge, and every court case, somebody wins, there's a winner and a loser. What usually happens, a loser starts hating you. I thought, Minayu, Sonny, some people are going to like me, and some people are going to hate me. The ones who lose are going to hate me, and the ones who win are going to like me. However, when they saw they saw that sometimes I found one person guilty on a Monday, and that same person had another court case, and I tried him, and that person I found him innocent a month later. So they realized then that I was not taking sides, that I was very impartial, and I was just passing, wherever justice takes me. Kiva the Chazoi demanded the Kazakh one of was lost today, wins tomorrow. Amina, I say, so if they like me, all of them like me. And but they hate me, so they all hate me equally. So I'm not sure. It sounds like he was not so much in touch with the people in the city, see whether they liked him or not. Because he said he's not even sure. They all like me or they all hate me. So what have I learned? When said the pasuk don't take any bribery, it doesn't mean don't take bribery, just money. There's other kinds of sheikhel as well, even a smile. And I feel that even sheikhel of words or sheikhel of things is also forbidden. It doesn't say better money you shouldn't take. It just says any kind of a bribe. And I'll give a few examples. These are not actually words, these are just activities, but it wasn't money. For example, what's the case of Sheikh Dvarim? Shmuel, like Shmuel, he crossed the bridge. Also, the other guy came along, he extended him a hand to help him cross. He said to him, who are you? What are you doing here? Dini Isli, I have a court case pending and I'm coming to you. Sit. I'm disqualified now from judging you because you helped me. So I already, we already have a bond. That's already sheikhet. Amema was once sitting and judging. Porach got for Aresha, a feather landed on his head. Also, Gabriel Shah came along, a person that took it away or removed it from his head. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you hear? I'm like, Dinis, I have a court case pending. I'm like, Pasila, you disqualified me. All I did was remove the feather. But the moment you did me a favor, no matter how slight it is, that's really sheikhet. Marukve, who's a headayin, Havishodi Reke Kamei. On the ground, there was some spittle there in front of him. Also, God came along a person, Kasya, and he covered it because spit is meas. He covered it so he shouldn't have to see it. Who are you? And what's your story? I have a court case. You just disqualified me. So these are examples where Sheikhat has nothing to do with money and it's just favors. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yasi, Havi Rogil Arise, he had an oris, a sharecropper. Rabbi Maisilei Kol Mali Shabbat. So this sharecropper would do all the work in the field, and he would get a half, a third, a quarter of the field, and the balance he would bring to Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi. And every Friday, Kol Mali Shabbat, every Friday he would bring counter the payter, a basket full of fruits from this orchard. One day, after 1 week, he brought it on Thursday instead of Friday. This is Rabbi Shmuel's payers, and this guy works for it. Don't do any favors because he gets a share, the sharecropper. But what he did was, instead of bringing it on Friday, he brought it on Thursday. Why did you bring it today? I have a court case. I thought I got work here, but I'm coming anyway because Mondays and Thursdays are when the best day used to convene. I thought I'm here anyway. I still the man. I'll bring you earlier. Like Kabbalah, you refuse to take it. Amalei, he said, "Pasil chaladina." You disqualify from the din. So Oisiv Zuzah the Rabbanan, he organized another pair of rabbis, the Kedainale, and they were judging him. Now you learned to give a story so far. You would wonder to yourself, he didn't take it. So then why didn't he himself judge? If he didn't take it. But it says here, while they're going, somebody said, and in his mind, he was thinking, if I was him, I would have said this claim and made this claim. And suddenly he realized that even just the attempt to give shaykhut already distorted his way of thinking. Swell the nefesh, or they should be in pain. The nefesh of those who receive shaykhut. I didn't take, and look what happened. And for you, I did take it's my own. So this basically explains that even though he didn't accept it, he felt already obliged to help this guy out. Now, it seems from here, and this is a discussion, but if, let's say, his sharecropper did not bring it early, just like every week, Friday, then Rabbi Shmuel would have judged him. And that might be a problem as well. This guy works for him. There's a certain connection already between them. Is that fair for a dayan to judge an employee of his against some stranger? Is there already a problem with that? From this one here, it seems clear there's no problem, because the only problem was that he brought it a day earlier. If he would not have brought it a day earlier, Rabbi Shmuel would have judged him. So they discussed this to see if that's an issue or not. Rabbi Shmuel, Bar Elisha, Aisilehu Gavadesh Lagais. There was a person who brought him. You're supposed to, if you have 5 sheep, you're supposed to give the first shearings to the kohen. So Rabbi Shmuel Bar Elisha was a kohen gadol, and he brought him. There was a kohen, and he brought him. What do you call it? His Reish Lagais. Amalei, hey, where are you from? Amalei, but they're from that city. So he asked him. He came, slept all the way here to me. He couldn't find any kohen to give it to except me. I have it in Torah. I mean, I got work while I'm here. I'll bring you right. I'll bring you. So the Torah says that this Reish Lagais is right with yours. You disqualify me. Like Kabul Minay, he refused to take it. He set up another pair of rabbis, the Kedainale, and they judged him. And while he was leaving, we also see him coming up and eat boy turnachi. Same thing. He already felt that there was some kind of a bond, and he was really trying to help the guy out, in his mind at least. Amar, Mani, but me, Shalini Talti, me Talti, Shalini Talti, I took him a coin, I'm entitled to it. But this is less of a Kalvachema because there's 1,000 coin, he doesn't owe it to you. Over there, the sharecropper, this was Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi's produce. Here, with the coin, the sharing is not really his, the guy could have given it to any other coin. So therefore, the coin is having a benefit. So it's a weaker Kalvachema. Rav Onan. A person brought him. A person brought him cancer, the gilden. A person brought him a gilda gilly. He brought him a basket full of little fish. What's the story? I have it in Torah. Like Kabbalah, I didn't accept it. You did. You passed me and you disqualified me from passing. I'm not interested in the Loilamona. He said, I'm not really interested at all in you judging me. But I want you to receive a present because you're a big Talmid Chacham. And he said to him, do me a favor. The Loilamona man, don't prevent me from giving you Bikurim. The Tanya we learned, it says in the passage by Elisha, the Ish ba mebal shalisha, that a person came from Baal Shalisha, Vayav Elisha Lakim brought him lechem bikurim, brought him bread to Elisha, brought Elisha present, brought him bikurim, esim lechem sa'edim, brought 20 loaves of barley, and then the carmel, b'tziglegay, and so on. Now, Elisha ate bikurim. First of all, Elisha was not a kohen, as Rashi says, he was from Shevet God. But also, even was a kohen, he wasn't in Yerushalayim. But Kurim should only be done to Yerushalayim. Elohim will tell you. Understand that. Elohim will tell you. Maybe doesn't have a chacham. Anybody brings a gift to Talmid Chacham, kill a makim bekurim. This is a side issue. Anybody a gift to Talmid Chacham is if you bring bekurim. Amalei kibuli loy beinen. He said kibuli loy beinen kabel. I didn't want to take from you because I thought you're trying to bribe me. Aber after the Amalei time, now you gave me a valid reason. I'll take it from you, but I'm not going to judge. Shadr lekamed Rav Nachman. He sent him to go to Rav Nachman. He sent him so he sent him, please do me a favor. This is the letter that he sent with this person. Do me a favor, why don't you judge him? I'm disqualified from being his dayan, but Rabbanan didn't explain why he's disqualified. He didn't show because it was like Sheikh had the whole story. He just said I'm disqualified. So what do you think that dayan thought? That dayan thought this must be a very close relative of Rabbanan. And because he's a very close relative of Rabbanan, Rabbanan disqualified. So he felt I have to support him. And why is that? Must be relative. It happened that he was in the middle of a court with a din Torah of Yisayim. Somebody said, hi, I say, v'hi, I say. I have a mitzvah, I say, to go ahead and judge. I'm here with Yisayim. It says, Shvat Tzedek. But I also have a mitzvah, I say, of Kavod Torah. I say to Kavod Torah, Adif, and I say Kavod Torah is greater. Gemara Shavuos learn that a Talmud Chacham gets precedence because Kavod Torah, when we have Kavod Torah, if you don't take care of his Torah, he's going to have to wait around, and he won't be able to learn. So that the allowance to learn Torah, he's allowed to. And here the Rishonim say Chiddush, this person was only a relative. If you're a relative of a Talmud Chacham, there's a mitzvah mahatayla to give cover to a Talmud Chacham. There's a mitzvah midrabbanan, the way the Litva learns. There's a mitzvah midrabbanan to give cover to a relative, a close relative of a Talmud Chacham. He doesn't say how close a close relative is, but there's a mitzvah midrabbanan. It's amazing to give cover to a relative. And so the din they asked me, so he stopped the din of Yisayim. Now, if we're talking about a relative only the Rabbanan, how can he stop a din to Yisayim, which is Mahatayla? Once you start it, you have to finish. So they say that he didn't start it. He was just getting himself organized for din Torah with Yisayim. Therefore, he said, you know what? We'll put that on hold and we'll go to this relative Rabbi Yanai. The Achter dinner, and he jumped in and did it din Torah for this guy. Even the Chazal Baal Dinah. When the person who was I guess the litigant or the defendant of the other person saw the kind of cover that these dayanim were giving to this person that came with a letter from Rabbanan, you caught it, all this respect, and they're completely confounded, and they basically were so intimidated by that they lost the case because they couldn't come up with any arguments. We're going to just finish the story. Rabbanan Eliyahu used to come visit him. Eliyahu Hanavi would come to him, and together they wrote a sefer called Eliyahu Rabba and Eliyahu Zut. Now, what's the story? What's Eliyahu Rabba Eliyahu Zut? Rabbi Masle said Eliyahu. Eliyahu used to learn with him this called Seder Eliyahu. After this incident, Eliyahu left him because of your behavior, because you weren't clear enough. This person lost the case and it wasn't fair. Yosef ben Tanisa, Rabbanan fasted, he asked for forgiveness, but also Eliyahu came back. But now that Eliyahu came back, because Rabbanan still did the wrong thing, he was now suddenly intimidated by the sight of Eliyahu. He was scared of it. But over Tivus, he made himself a box. But Yosef came in, he would sit inside the box and listen to Eliyahu until they finished. As if he didn't really want to see Eliyahu, he sat in the box and he would listen to what Eliyahu had to say. But that's what we say. Seder is called Eliyahu Rabbah, and Seder Eliyahu Zuta. Eliyahu Rabbah is when you learn together normally, and Eliyahu Zuta, the small Eliyahu, is when he sat in the box. Then he called Eliyahu Zuta. And how the Yonim were able to take money today, we'll tell you tomorrow. Tell you tomorrow. Everyone have a good day.